Hi guys, this is John from Meatristics University, and this is Cured Sausage 301 using different proteins. So today we're going to focus on making a chicken cured sausage or snack stick. What we're going to try and do here is see the difference between when we use just chicken breast that has very little fat, when we take chicken breast and add pork fat to it, and if we use something that has fat in it already, which would be the chicken thighs. So the one that we're going to make without any additional fat, we have to have another plan or they're going to be really dry and unpleasant. So we're going to add carrot fiber to help hold in more water. Carrot fiber holds up 26 times its weight in water. We're also going to add cold phosphate to it. Now, cold phosphate raises the pH of the meat, which is going to let the water bind more effectively to it. Important thing to keep in mind, though, is that cold phosphate, by raising the pH, is also shortening your shelf life. Then on the one we're going to add pork fat to, we're simply going to add 25% pork fat. So it's going to take it from a very lean product to a reasonable amount of fat. And then the chicken thighs, just process them as normal, grind them, still add a carrot fiber or some sort of binder, and process as you would beef, anything else. So first thing we need to do, obviously, is we're going to grind all of this. Now, chicken does hold a lot of water. It's usually been pumped to anywhere between 6 to 12% with water. So as you're grinding, you can get a little bit of purge. A good way to combat that is just to freeze your chicken almost solid. I mean, not really solid, but to the point where it's definitely got some ice crystals on it. The first grind you're going to do, whether you're doing any three of these ones, is going to be through your large breaker plate. 3/8 plate works perfectly for it, but just the biggest plate you have. If you have one a little bit smaller than a 3/8 as your biggest, you're fine to use that. Then we're going to grind it the second time, and this is going to be through a 1/8 plate. The issue with this is that chicken is going to have a really hard time on its second grind. I mean, if you think beef and pork take a long time on its second grind, wait till you try chicken. The best way to combat this is just to put the ground meat, push it out so it's mostly flat in a poly pan or a meat lug, and then freeze it. And freeze it till it's got some tactile frozenness to it. You want it to be crunchy when you're grabbing it and pushing it down the throat. That's going to allow the auger to grab it better and push it down towards the plate and knife. And make sure your plates and knives are both sharp and cold. Want to make sure that we're keeping everything cold through this process. Shouldn't be an issue since we're freezing it in between grinds, but just always something good to keep in mind. Now for mixing, here's where you have to know where you got your chicken from. If it's been pumped to 6%, just use the regular amount of water you would. But if it's up around 12%, you're going to want to back off your water a little bit because there's already been a decent amount of water introduced through the pumping. So they pump chicken for a couple of reasons. One, they've done extensive testing and they do find that that's what most people like. They want that juicy, plump chicken, and unfortunately, a lot of people overcook chicken. So the best way to provide that finished product that the customer is looking for is by over pumping the chicken up to about 12%. I've seen it as high as 15, but 12% seems to be the standard for most just regular bargain chicken. So when you're mixing, make sure that if you're adding cold phosphate, you add the cold phosphate to your water first and then mix that in. Cold phosphate has to dissolve in the water, and cold phosphate needs to be the first thing that you dissolve in the water. Because if it's just sitting in there, it's not going to do you any good. So then you're just going to mix like you normally would any other meat. Make sure that you're getting really good protein extraction here. All of them, it's important, but especially the one you're adding pork fat to, you do not want that fat separating from the chicken and leaking out of your sausage. Now for stuffing these, just choose the largest stuffing tube that your casing will go over and stuff as you normally would. It should stuff fairly easily, especially if you're keeping it cold. And as always, if you're doing collagen casings, you just want to stuff it until you can barely see that swirl pattern that's running down the casing. If you can't see that at all, you're probably overstuffing. And if you see it really prominently, you're understuffing. Now for cooking time, we're going to want to do a drying cycle to start of 10 minutes at 110 degrees. and then continue that drying cycle for another 30 minutes at 130 degrees. So drying cycle, just make sure that you're not adding any humidity and that your dampers are wide open at this point. Once you're past the first 10 and 30 minutes, go ahead and kick it up to 140 degrees for 60 minutes. Hold it there, then run another drying cycle for 10 minutes, again at just 130 degrees, and then up to 180 degrees until your internal temperature is 165. Remember, this is chicken. Don't want to cook it just to 160. You want to go all the way to 165. Now, as far as taste goes, we used a bratwurst seasoning for this. We used the Hatch Green Chili bratwurst seasoning. Now, bratwurst is a fresh sausage, so it doesn't have the same salt content as a cured sausage would. That's because in a cured sausage, the salt content is going to play more of a part than just taste. It's also helping to extract the proteins. So we used about 10% more seasoning than we normally would. Came out excellent. All three of these versions taste awesome. Everyone's favorite definitely seems to be the one we added pork fat to. I mean, we've said it tons of times here, but there is something about pork fat that's just superior to any other type of fat for a sausage. It's creamy, it coats your mouth well, it lets the flavor linger longer, and it has very little taste of its own, so whatever protein you're using and the seasoning stand out. So that was definitely the best. And then after that, surprisingly, we seem to be split, but it does seem like a lot of people liked the one that we added cold phosphate and carrot fiber to. So that was just straight chicken breast, boneless, skinless chicken breast with carrot fiber and cold phosphate at their normal usages. We didn't change anything up there. And then for all of these, we did add encapsulated citric acid to give it a little bit of a tang and so that we could go right from stuffing to smoking. If we hadn't added that or some other type of cure accelerator, we would have had to hold it for 12 hours overnight. That's going to allow the nitrite to break down into nitric oxide and actually start curing the meat. Now, don't let me get you off of chicken thighs, because chicken thighs also do make a really good snack stick. Just seems to be with this particular flavor, people seem to prefer the cold phosphate and carrot fiber more, but everybody definitely liked the one we added pork fat to the best. As always, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and visit waltonsinc.com and meatyourstix.com to find everything but the meat. Thanks for watching. I'm John with Meat Your Sticks University, and I'll see you guys next time.
Subscribe to Walton's YouTube channel to watch more amazing videos, or shop at waltonsinc.com to find everything but the meat. Watch our latest sales and giveaway video by clicking here, or watch another hand-picked video by clicking here.